Hi Gregor, welcome to Coding Challenges. Why do you think that programming should be learned by building projects?
Learning by doing, I think, in my opinion, is the best way to learn, right? There's no better way to learn a new programming language or a framework than if you're building a new project, right? Especially if you're also passionate about that specific project as well. Like, for example, if you really like sports, we can build something around that, right, as well, and that is going to help you to learn programming a lot faster. And also, in my example, I didn't really enjoy programming when I first started with it. That was in high school. I was introduced to programming then, and it was with Java. We were counting characters and we were traversing through characters, and I really didn't enjoy it back then, and it didn't motivate me at that time, right? So I started to really enjoy programming when I started to build visual things with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? That's kind of like made programming for me a lot more fun, a lot more interesting, and that's when I started to learn days and nights about programming, and also getting better about also other languages and stuff like that. So basically, without building projects, my overall knowledge of programming would be a lot smaller.
Yeah, it's much more fun building something real you can see and interact with, isn't it? For me,
Exactly.
That was trying to build AI and then trying to build computer games, but I sucked at the graphics. So I delighted when Quake came along and I could focus on AI for computer games, which kind of mixed both. That was very cool. What other projects did you build, Gregor?
Yeah, some of the first projects obviously were visual, and I liked building things in the browser, like something's happening on the screen, animations and things like, for example, click events on certain things that you're doing around the screen. And then what's really interesting about it is that this has turned then later to become kind of like my fun projects. I built a lot of fun animations with SVG, CSS, and JavaScript. I also used a lot of other external libraries like GSAP and other anime.css. Of course, that was one of the most used in my projects. And I also then later I also published them to CodePen. Those animations that also got me later some of the projects, and also I think this also was quite big influence in getting me a new role at that time. But to get back to the beginnings, after I started to get the hang of programming better, obviously we all started building like our own website, something like that. I think it was really really interesting back in the day. And after that I also built kind of like a website for energy drink, and then also a website for drones, like a presentational website about what actually is the functionalities of drones, and also what kind of the energy drink would I like personally, I like to drink, right? And so on. And then also, as soon as I started also getting my first role as an engineer, after some time I also started working on freelance projects. I did so many projects. I built a lot of websites with WordPress, a lot of also web applications with different technologies, also desktop applications with Electron, and also different kind of like automation scripts as well for some clients. Also a mobile application with React Native as well, this has helped me to learn so many stuff by doing those projects, right? And especially in the beginning I was just taking projects to just learn a new programming language or a new framework and so on. It was kind of a challenge for me, right? If I don't know anything right now, if I don't know how to build like a certain desktop application, I'm going to learn about it, right? And then also one of the latest kind of a side projects, it was probably around 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. I built a habit tracker app that was with React Native, and I published that also to App Store and Google Play Store as well. I didn't actually focus on trying to monetizing it or trying to get like additional users to it, but the whole reason why I did it was because I was starting with a new role, and with the project we were building a mobile application with React Native, so I wanted to be a lot more better with React Native at that time. And also, just to mention, the last and the most important side project is building my own blog that has turned to be from side project to actually what is my main focus, focusing on the engineering leadership newsletter. But yeah, the funny thing is I built it with React and Gatsby, and I spent more time actually developing it than actually writing. So yeah, that's a fun thing about it. And yeah, I remember, trying to make everything really performant, really fast, and so on, and also ensuring that the cookies works exactly as they should, and so on. But instead, it's much better to spend more time writing than actually building. So that's when I moved to Substack, and it was a really good decision. But yeah, side project turned to be a really important piece of what I'm doing today.
So it sounds like throughout your entire career, and shall we say before your career as well, you use projects to, first of all, learn the technology. Then you use projects to kind of learn the business skills, learn the soft skills, learn the leadership skills.
Yeah.
And that's how you've gone from, learning to code in Java in school, doing simple functions, to eventually becoming a CTO and now running a successful business.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's been projects has really been my secret to actually progress and grow in my career. Because you can't learn, especially if you're doing freelance work for clients, you can't learn the communication skills and the organizational skills and also planning skills in order to go from zero to finish a certain project, right? Without it. And also what client actually says that they need is actually something different. They need something different, and you need to find out exactly what is something they need, right? And you need to propose it, and you need decent communication skills to do that, and you need to have good understanding of your business as well, and also some emotional intelligence.
Yeah, and as you say, you need to talk to them, get those requirements from them. And the other aspect that a lot of people really struggle with, and I'm constantly amazed at how many people find this difficult, which kind of makes sense when I think about it more, but as we've both freelanced, we've both run our own businesses, we've perhaps not had that experience, but a lot of people who have only worked in larger companies have never started a project from scratch. They've come in, the project exists, they work on it for a couple of years, they move to a different project that already exists. Whereas you say, when you freelance and you keep picking up new clients, you're faced with a blank slate. You have to start a project again, figure out how you build it from the ground up. So what have you learned from that way? What lessons have you taken away from that?
Yeah, I think, if you work like in a large company, you can work on a really small piece of application, right? And you're going to be just exposed to that specific domain knowledge, and also you might have a limited role inside of your team, right? You're not going to be managing the project. You're just going to be basically, especially if you're starting your career, you're mostly going to be working based on the tickets, right? And that is totally wrong way how we should look at programming and engineering, right? We should be looking as we as engineers how we can solve the most problems to our users and provide the most value to the organization and also to the team as well. So that is what has been kind of like the main learning for me is. Because at the beginning, right, I went straight into implementation mode and wanted to learn a new programming language or a framework and started to build stuff, right? But then I got some, feedback from clients. Okay, this is not what we expected. We expected something different. Then I learned that, okay, I need to do a better stakeholder management, client management, right? I need to make sure I provide the plan and how it's going to look like and what I'm actually going to build, right? So those are the kind of skills you don't learn just working on a large project. Those are the skills that you learn that actually on working sites or working freelance projects with clients. Especially, I recommend working with non-technical clients if you're an engineer, because you need to explain them technical solutions that they're going to resonate with, because a lot of times we go straight into programming languages and frameworks, but it doesn't make sense to them. They will just think, okay, what is this guy actually saying, right? But you need to explain it in a simple way. So you learn the skills as, for example, a tech lead or a staff engineer person that is in larger company needs to have And it's really hard to learn those skills just on the job. You learn those skills by building projects, especially for non-technical clients.
Yeah. And those communication skills are going to be even more important these days with AI and the fact that we're going to converse with AI in a natural language, whether that's English or whatever your natural language is. So being able to clearly communicate, clearly document what we want things to do is going to be so, so important. So last question from that side is, you've got those requirements, you know what you're going to build, you're sat there with an editor, no code. How do you go about breaking a project down, figuring out what you build first, what the steps are? What's your approach to that?
That's a really good question. Obviously, you need to know and understand what you're actually trying to build. Sometimes, though, especially if if the motivation is low, you just want to start building, right? And when you start, actually, that gets you going. But if you're building something for the client, right? Maybe let's talk about building something for a client. Then you want to dissect actually what is the need and actually communicate. Okay, is this actually what you need, or is that this is my recommendation? This is how this is what actually my proposal is. And after that submission, and after you get acceptance from it, it's also important if you're working with clients to get like a actual written agreement, because a lot of times what happens if you're doing like a just verbal agreement, they're gonna say, okay, we didn't actually discuss this and agree on this. That's a funny story. After that, it's important to build. I also try to do, if I'm working with a client. I'm not working a lot with clients anymore, but in the past, I also provided like specific technologies and frameworks that are going to be used in there. So I knew already which kind of like particular things I'm going to be using, and I always went with either if I'm trying to learn something new, or something that already existed. Like for example, building a website would be choosing WordPress, and then I would decide. Normally, I built like also my own theme for every website. And then I also had like a good boilerplate for building a specific custom theme on WordPress. So I would do that. I would prepare the full project. I would scaffold to the project with my boilerplate that I used it. And then I would start doing specific functionalities. I would start with the most, for example, like a first page, and then the about page, and so on. Those two things, I would start with that. And send that for confirmation, and send that to check, to the client, to how actually if they're fine with it, and things like that. I think it's you want to communicate continuously more than actually less. I think that works a lot better. You don't want to do big bang reveals. Big bang reveals really less often work, but you want to just continuously communicate, because the client is actually they want trust. They want a trustworthy person, and that they value trust, right? So after that, I would do that kind of like a rotation, like every now and then, and provide updates. Maybe it would be like on a particular time, and so day and time, and so on. And yeah, I would go and build one functionality after the other, and so on. Also, you don't want to, the thing with projects is that you can go and perfect to infinity, right? That is the big problem. You want to clearly know when it's actually time to stop, and actually when it's good enough. Because what happens is, if you don't have that, you're going to be spending like, okay, I can make this code better, okay, I can make this thing a bit better, I can make this particular, let's say, I can use this library, I can animate this particular section a bit better and different, and so on. But the actual thing is, you want to, I think, the time aspect is important, that you value your time, and also that you know how to actually finish, and that's the hardest part. Like 5% of the project is the hardest part in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things you learn from freelancing, is you realize when good enough is good enough, because you could polish it and try and make it perfect, but if you never deliver it to customer's upset. If you deliver it, it's good, but you're not happy with the code, they're still happy and they pay you. So you start to find that balance between what's good enough and when you need to finish polishing it, and accept that maybe the code's not as perfect as you'd like, but you're going to upset the customer if you keep trying to polish, and they actually want it. And if it works, they're going to be happy.
Yeah.
Cool. Final question for you, Gregor. Of the 101 coding challenges I've published so far, do you have a favourite? And
Yeah.
if so, what is it?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You know, I think I mentioned this to you at some time, but I really like the coding challenges that mimic a certain technology, right? So you better understand it, how it works, and because if you understand how it works in detail, you can use it a lot better, and you can then tweak it in a way that is going to be more useful to you. Like for similar, like if you're using React, if you know how React operates in more deeper level, then you're gonna be able to use it a lot better. So going back to the coding challenges, Redis is that example, and I really like that challenge because Redis is quite simple to understand. It's quite simple functionality, but you can go into many different aspects to make it more performant, to make it, to cover different edge cases and so on. There's so many things you can go into details, but it's very simple to understand on the high level, and you can then go whatever deep you want, but you understand the specifics of how it works, but then if you want, you can jump deeper as well.
Yeah, and I love that project for the same reason, in that you can build a very simple Redis clone in 200 to 300 lines of a high-level language. And indeed, the original version of Redis was about 300 lines of Tcl. Yeah. Or you can go into a very high-performant, low-level systems programming solution, like Redis is now in a couple 100,000 lines of C. So you could build it in Lisp or Go and learn a lot and really get into the detail. So you can tackle it at multiple different levels and learn so much from that. Awesome. Thank you very much, Gregor.
Yeah, thanks for having me.